Call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for the town of Sevastopol for Monday, July 18th at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, roll call to establish a quorum. Ms. Flock.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfle.
Here.
Supervisor Derek Daniel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Here.
Supervisor Mark Han.
Here. Meet and greet. We'd like to know who's all in the audience today. We have some familiar faces. We'll start up front here and just work back and forth if you would, please.
Alexis Fuller, 220 North.
Cole Myra, Liz Keller.
Hugh Zettel, 3986 Glidden Drive.
Clay Nellis, 4216 Highway 57.
Carrie Nellis, 4216 State Highway 57.
Craig Nellis, 4216 Sevastopol.
Bridget Starr.
Jason Fuller, 220 North 18th Place.
Tessa Bruner, 4880 Rockford Court.
Lori Torbeck, I'm here to support the child care. Nicole Rondon, 7796 Tony Road X.
Cole Burns. Alexis Van Peter, 11 North 17th, Sturgeon Bay, here to support the child care center.
I'm Whitney Eberard from EMR with Sevastopol and we're online.
Kurt Krell, Sevastopol EMR, Elaine Drive.
Cole Frall, Sevastopol EMR, Ealing Drive.
Justin McDonald, Sevastopol EMR.
Linda Schultz, Sevastopol EMR, Highway 57.
John Stopness, Sevastopol First Responder, Whitefish Bay Road.
Tim Flieger, EMR, parliamentarian to the town, 4449 Blue Road.
Fred Erickson, EMR, Sevastopol, 4987 Rip Road.
Andy Stotts, Sevastopol EMR, Clark Lake Road.
Steve Harberlake, Sevastopol EMR, Fort Road.
Scott Whalen, Door County paramedic, County T. Derek Grenfell, 3910 Cherry Road.
You got everybody?
Mary Ellen Hayne, on Matthew Road, proud recipient of having EMR come to my house a couple times and they're fantastic.
All right. Good. Thank you. Welcome. Glad you're all here. All right. Public participation. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on a non-agenda item? Okay, so we'll move on. We need a motion to adopt the agenda, assuming it has been properly noticed.
The agenda has been properly noticed.
Motion to adopt would be in order.
So move to adopt the agenda as noticed.
Motion by Linda, second by... Second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from June 20th, 2022. You all had a chance to take a look at them. A motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve Board of Supervisors meeting minutes of June 20th, 2022.
Mr. Daniel, yes. Motion by.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hain. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're off that. Thank you. Okay. Pending business, discussion action regarding the EMF crew chief appointment. This has been a very interesting course of action, I guess. So last month, we made an appointment of a crew chief using the Sturgeon Bay fire contract. They offered to act as crew chief for us. As you know, we have fire protection through the city of Sturgeon Bay. So we made that switch, and afterwards I was given a call by our parliamentarian, who also is a EMT, and said that we didn't follow the proper procedure, and he recommended a process to correct that procedure, which up until this afternoon we were going to use. But this afternoon, we uncovered more documents with more history about the EMRs in the town and how it was formed and what was happening. And so my intention tonight would be to rescind the appointment that we took action on last month, and then to have a discussion with the town board as to how we recognize the EMR group. Because after uncovering some documents and getting some opinions from attorneys and insurance people, we find that there's some things that we need to go back and revisit, such things as there's no liability coverage for the EMRs as part of your organization today, nor has there been any over the last number of years. So we need to go in and relook at some of these things. So as a result of that, the first step that I'm recommending to the board is that we rescind the appointment from last month, and then we'll go into a discussion relative to where we sit with the other items that have been brought to our attention. So, Linda, you want to?
Sure. Since I made the motion last month to accept those committee appointments, I hereby move to rescind that motion that we approved on Monday, June 20th, 2022. During that meeting, and the committee appointments, which included the naming of the Sevastopol First Responder Crew Chief. Again, I wish to rescind that specific item.
Okay, so we have a motion by Linda, a second by?
Second.
Second by Jeannie, to rescind the appointment of crew chief from our June town board meeting. Any discussion relative to that? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so the crew chief will revert back to Ashley at this point in time. The next item is trying to understand, and Tim, you were involved in this conversation with me, so if it's appropriate, feel free to raise your hand or join in. It was our impression that the EMR was a standing committee of the town. This was the conversation that I had with Tim, and as it turns out, we find out that it is not a standing committee of the town, which creates some problems in the way that we were planning to address this. As we dug into it, we found a resolution from 2002 where it said, and I have it here, amongst everything. Oh, thank you. Glad you're holding it. I'll skip through all the whereases, but it says, and this was done in February of 2002 by Leo. It says, be it resolved that the town of Sevastopol does hereby recognize and sanction the first responders as an agency of the town of Sevastopol. The members of the Sevastopol first responders are not employees of the town of Sevastopol and are not members of a committee created by the town board of the town of Sevastopol. The first responders shall be responsible to keep on file with the town clerk a current copy of bylaws, rules, regulations. The town board of the town of Sevastopol work in cooperation with the Sevastopol first responders to assist and support their organization to serve the health, welfare, and safety of the public. I sent this document off to our town attorneys as well to try and get an understanding from their perspective what that meant. And at the same time, I had our town clerk inquire of our insurance carrier how you are treated from a liability perspective. As you're aware, you're covered from workers' comp, and I think that's been in place for, 5, 6, 7 years or more. And I can't tell you the date that we started paying you on a per-call basis, but that's been in place for quite some time as well. So we pay you on a per-call, we pay you for training, we purchase the supplies that you may need to do your job on our behalf. But the gist of the feedback that came back is, first off, is that you're not covered under the liability of the town. And so the recommendation, I think, is going to be that we consider making you a committee, a standing committee of the town, just as we have a park committee, a plan commission, et cetera, so that you would fall underneath our coverage. There's also some clarification that the attorney suggests that we make in a resolution, further clarifying your position as it relates to the town. See if I can pull a couple of those things up. In the declaration that was submitted by Leo, it says the use of the word organization in the resolution looks to be incorrect and should instead have solely stated it as an agency of the town. This places the Sevastopol first responders under the direction of the town board. It recommends that we redo the 2002 resolution with updates made to cover them, as well as to decide if in fact the town board wants to make them a standing committee of the town board. It also says the town board by resolution should determine the level of control the board wishes to have over the Sevastopol first responders. And this includes how the executive leadership is selected and control over the bylaws of the agency. And there's just a myriad of other documents, some conflicting, some supporting in this process. But the gist of it is, I think the town board needs to make a decision as to do we want to make the first responders a standing committee of the town or not. But before I go there, Tim, do you have anything that you'd like to add or clarification? If you can clarify this, whatever.
The direction of making it a standing committee falls in line with the other types of entities you have as a town board.
Correct.
That is prudent and makes sense to me. It then also allows to establish the agency relationship that you want.
Right.
And because you provide financial support in terms of budgetary, you do that with other standing committees. So again, that falls in line with that direction. So that is, again, an appropriate step. But I think then the next step would be to clarify that relationship that you want as a town board with the group as it relates to what the appropriate bylaws of that group is.
Right, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, and as with all standing committees, we have a town board member that chairs that committee, and so I would ask that we have somebody chair the committee as such, not that they would be an active participant in the meeting, the training, the rest of the stuff, but in establishing the bylaws, updating them, and setting the goals and objectives, and refining the bylaws as appropriate. And
I think it also would then give you that communication link that the town board would want and require from a standing committee. So
Yep.
there's no question of what is the processes and services and products that that committee provides to the town. And I'm saying that except for those places where HIPAA laws
Right.
and confidentiality pieces are not privy.
Correct. Yes, exactly. Which I think would address the majority of the concerns that we have as a town board. So, does anybody else wish to comment from the audience with respect to this? Okay, then go back to the town board. Any conversation, discussion? Pardon me?
I'll
No,
start.
somebody has to start, always.
Okay, I did go, when this first came about last month or 2 months ago, first of all, I think it's time that we take a step back. This was ringing a bell, and yes, I was clerk back in 2002, so I do definitely recall and did find this resolution that our former chairman had brought up, where it is not a standing committee. And I looked again at the bylaws. I believe your group drafted the bylaws. I do not believe the town drafted it. And it was probably based on other first responder governing bylaws that you used as a pro forma. It seems like we're rushing into this. I would just like to stick with the status quo, and that is abide by the resolution of 2002. Perhaps suggest that the first responders take a look at their governing bylaws. Yes, there is a degree of confidentiality, so appointing a board member, I'm not sure that would work. I would like to see the bylaws tweaked to perhaps add a procedure for ordering supplies, who approves the ordering of supplies, and, you know, a chain of events there to document expenditures. I would like to see a point about providing the town board, since we do provide your budget as taxpayers, we budget for you. I would like to see an annual reporting and accountability. I know that your former crew chief, Justin, always gave us a very comprehensive annual report at our annual meetings. I would like to see a return to that. And I understand that you're at about 20 members now, so I don't know, is there a consensus on we will have no more than 25 members and no less than 10? I'm not sure on that point. And I know that you're all up to date on your trading because it's mandated by state, so I'm not too worried about that. I don't really see any major problems, so again, I would just like to see a step back, follow the procedure that's on the books right now. Please take a look at your governing bylaws to include some of those points that I just mentioned. And your voting members would be the ones to elect your crew chief and your assistant crew chief and your secretary. I'm perfectly fine with that, like I said. Maybe just have your policies and procedures a little bit better organized. This is not a criticism. I'm just trying to think for policies and procedures, you know, accountability. It's to your advantage to show accountability for every dollar that's spent. And then as far as liability, I question that as well because I think you're covered under the Good Samaritan law. And we do provide you with workers' comp and unemployment insurance. I believe that's been in effect since about 2013, 2012, something like that, where we started with the per call. So I'm okay with the status quo.
Tim, you know about the Good Samaritan law. I mean, you're when you do the CPR and stuff. What's that? Yeah, well, being the parliamentarian, but you do the CPR classes and you taught us that one.
We also currently, as emergency responders, this has gone back and forth in Door County. At one point, we were covered under the county's insurance policy from a liability standpoint when we responded to calls. It then switched around this time of 2002, which would, I think, trigger that resolution. And then it has now come back to where we currently, as emergency responders in Door County, are covered under the county's liability policy. So that provides that protection to us as we respond to calls, not only in the township, but throughout Door County. And then because there's now wage, we have the workers' comp piece, which covers that piece. So I don't really believe with the way it exists today that the insurance is an issue.
Reading from a memo, I've got so many documents, my apologies. Reading from a memo dated March 29th, 2002, this one to Tom Olson. It was a conversation with Pinker Law Firm and Dick Burris, who was the former emergency manager, saying that another issue that Dick mentioned was the question of insurance coverage. The town should make sure the town's liability insurance cover will cover first responders for their actions. So this goes back to 2002, saying questions that, and there are minutes from a board meeting which was chaired by minutes of the board of the Fire and Rescue Committee, May 8th of 2002, by Doug Jorns, where there was a conversation again with respect to Jerry Warwick, former board member, expressed concern of the legality of the board approving. Oh, this was bylaws. Sorry, that wasn't on insurance. but they had in there a motion that they go to the town's attorney to understand the issue of agency versus board and insurance. So it appears that, and I think Amy did the homework with our insurance agent, that there is not liability coverage. I don't know about the Good Samaritan law, I couldn't answer that, but at any rate, that's a little more.
So the clarification there is if I'm walking down the road right now and there's an incident under the Good Samaritan law, because I have a license, I can respond without being dispatched. So I fall under the coverage of the Good Samaritan law. In most of our cases, we're dispatched to a scene, whether in our town or whether in the county of Door. And so under that case, because we're dispatched, we fall under the county's liability insurance coverage.
Well, we will, having more time, we will certainly dig into that for some further clarification, because it certainly appears to be a potential gray area. I'm sorry, I've interrupted the rest of you. So Derek or Mark or Jeannie?
I think we need to all get together and hash it out with them. I mean, obviously you guys are gonna keep doing your job, you're not gonna walk away on us, but, I did talk to some of you guys on the phone in person, and we don't wanna lose you guys, especially some of the guys who've been here for a long time. So, I think we need to get together and just put our heads together and figure this all out. Obviously, someone's gonna be upset in the end, we all know that, that's how it's gonna work out. But we wanna keep everybody on the same page and happy as possible.
So did I hear, Tim, when you were speaking, Tim, did I hear you say that you would like it to be the standing committee of the town board?
The understanding that I had from when we first started I've been with the unit for 27 years, and when we first started, that was what we were, was a standing committee of the town. And when I learned this afternoon that there was a resolution in 2002 that effectively changed that, there still needs to be a decision by the town board of what relationship you want with the group. And it makes sense to me that a standing committee would accomplish many of the topics that you would want to have.
Has the group of first responders discussed this? That what they would like to do?
The first responder group functions under the current bylaws that we have in place, and those bylaws were set up based on us being a standing committee.
So that was your understanding, that you were a standing committee? Ah, okay.
That's what started the whole conversation with Tim.
Right.
Was that understanding, and then
I
we
saw the
got
notes, yeah.
gray area after that. So, Derek?
The only thing I'm questioning right now is, under the bylaws, it does state that you need to take minutes for meetings and training. As far as HIPAA goes, there's things you leave out of that for publication. So it's still something that needs to get done.
How often do you guys go over your bylaws? Is there anything where you go through them every so often, 10 years, 5 years, never? Is it something?
It's usually when we need to make a change that has happened within the group that we then update the bylaws. That's been our history. But it's not on an annual basis, or it's not written that we need to revise and review every 3 years.
Yeah,
There's
we
nothing
came up
in there
with
that states that.
4 sets of bylaws. As each time that I talked to Tim and I found a paragraph that he didn't have, we realized there was another version of the bylaws floating out there. So it's about 2002, 2007, 2012, and the initials from 95. So it's been a pattern of change, but not based on any consistency. So, but, okay. Do you have anything else, Linda? Otherwise, I'm going to.
Well, the bylaws, the current bylaws do state that members make the officer nominations and elections. So, I mean, that would definitely have to be changed. We've never, in all the prior committee appointments, I have never seen the first responder crew chief on an appointment sheet.
Well, it's not the item that we're actually discussing at the moment, but it's okay. It was more directed at whether or not a standing committee is something that we should consider. And I don't have a problem rolling it over for a month and getting some further clarification with respect to these issues, like some of the verbiage changes that they felt that we should make, or the insurance liability issue should be resolved.
I think we gotta figure out the insurance first.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, we can certainly do that. So, any other comments? Okay. Well, then what I'll do is we'll bring it back next month after we resolve the issues of insurance, also get some further verbiage clarification from the attorney with respect to things that they think should or shouldn't be included. And we'll deal with it after we get all that information back. So, okay. Thanks for coming. We'll keep you in the loop. All right, moving on to new business. We have a request for rezone from the Sharon Poehler Trust on behalf of Alexis Fuller. Request to rezone a parcel from countryside to commercial center to build a child care facility in the northeastern portion. Property located off of Gordon Road, near and west of the intersection of State Road 4257. Parcel number is in the agenda. So, in this case, the town plan commission chair was enjoying some leisure time.
Forced leisure
Forced
time.
leisure time, thank you to something from China, or I guess, who knows where. At any rate, there was a discussion. What we're going to do is we're going to ask Hugh Zettel, who was the vice chair and chaired the meeting that night, to step in lieu of Linda here and just explain what's happening, where we're at, where we should go with it. So, Hugh?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Plan Commission met on July 11th, and by a vote of 3-2, recommended support for a petition to rezone. The reasons that for our decision, it was a critical need for there's a critical need for child care services in the town as well as the county. It supports Sevastopol residents. They mentioned that they have a good roster of parents and children from the town. It's located in a position to support both the towns, or the city of Sturgeon Bay, town of Sturgeon Bay, the Sturgeon Bay School District, and Sevastopol School Districts. And it's well thought out design. Some of their incorporation of trails, outdoor activities with the kids is kind of consistent with that kind of countryside wooded area. And their drawings, or preliminary drawings, showed an effort to try to keep as much of that real landscape and treescape there on the grounds. So that was well thought out in that regard. Is the proposal consistent with the comprehensive town plan? If you look at the future use in the comprehensive plan, most of that is areas zoned as residential. We're going from countryside to residential. There we go. And but we believe it's mitigated by the motion, which was basically only use the northeast portion of that parcel. You can see that square there. If you square that off, that's roughly around 9.8 acres. In the discussion with the petitioners, that is adequate space for their daycare facility that they want. And also, by just doing that northeast corner, if you see on the left-hand side, there's that roughly 105-foot wide part there. If we keep that countryside, that ensures that those residential properties don't become part of an island, so that the rest of that still stays countryside. And the other part, relative to being consistent with the comprehensive town plan, it fits within our residential and rural charters that are in the comprehensive plan and our focus on our kind of residential areas. So a daycare center is definitely consistent, if you will, with the residential area, and that was actually reinforced by the land use team on page 2. They said on the bottom third of the second paragraph, the western southwestern portion of the subject lot fits more within the countryside description than the northeast portion. An argument could be made that rezoning the northeast portion would be a natural extension of an existing commercial area. So that, I think, is consistent relative to what we want to do. I think the other part is if I had a, I'll finish the rest of it, and then I'll want to use a baseball analogy of wishing that I could have had a check swing, if you will, since the baseball all-star game's coming up, and I'll get to that in a second. The concerns or objections that the town may wish to see potentially addressed through modifications. Basically, number one, there was concern about doing a full rezone of that whole parcel, which we basically backed away and just said, we'll just do that northeast portion and leave the rest all countryside, consistent with the other neighboring properties. So that was one thing to mitigate any objections. The second was asked the petitioners to call the Wisconsin DOT or Tad Ash from the County Highway Department to talk to get clarification on traffic counts and in that area, both off of Gordon Road, Egg Harbor Road, and to get some more information on that, since traffic was, I think, probably the primary concern aside from just rezoning the whole parcel. Relative to that access on Gordon Road. And then the other mitigation was to also ask the petitioners if they could see if they would be willing, if they could get access or easement from the Armstrong property, which is property that borders the old highway road, and basically be able to use Old Highway Road as an entrance. So those were the conditions. So now to go to my baseball check swing analogy, when I looked at trying to get a motion put together, there's no zoning for daycare centers at all. You have to, once they get done with this process, if this is approved, they still have to come back for a conditional use permit. And there's 3 zoning districts that are allowed with conditional use permits for daycare centers. It's recreational, commercial, mixed-use commercial, and commercial center, thank you, commercial center. When I looked at those 3, obviously recreational, commercial doesn't make sense because that kind of fits with the resort use. And this isn't a resort environment. Maybe the kids, because they're having so much fun there, they may think it's vacation land for them. But the resort commercial doesn't really fit. So when I looked at mixed use, since we're kind of going from a commercial center to the east and to the south, and you have kind of countryside with residential neighborhood to the west, I thought mixed use could, be viewed as a transition. However, looking at it through the steely eyes of a land use person, they may look at that and just say that's spot zoning, okay? And so since commercial center is also viable, there's adjacent properties to the east and to the south that are already commercial center. If I had my druthers again, I would probably offer this motion originally and do it as a commercial center. It's consistent with commercial center to the right, and because of its use, it's for the daycare center, it also blends in well with the residential area, and that's consistent with what the land use team said, that they could make an argument for a commercial center with a daycare facility next to residential neighborhoods. So with that, I only have one more comment, and it's again going back to the traffic counts. In my prior life, we always had to do data analytics for marketing, and the theme was, in God we trust, all others must bring data. So I thought I could bring you some data. When you look at the traffic count information that's available from the Wisconsin DOT, they actually had metering that was done on Gordon Road in a couple spots. Actually, one just off of where the proposed entrance was. And that was done in 2009, and they tallied an average annual daily traffic flow of 1,500 vehicles. That's 2009, okay? Now, that's a long time ago, and obviously, and they're actually currently doing metering studies throughout the county. And I had left a message for Tad Ash, County Commissioner, Highway Department, and that new data is not yet available. However, I took a look at Highway 4257, just right by the Gordon Road area. They have traffic metering that they do more periodically. So their latest traffic study was done in 2018, a little more recent, and they have 12,700 vehicles average annual daily tally. If you look at where they were, if you look on that data, they have 2009 data. So the same time they were measuring Gordon Road in 2009, they were measuring 4257, and they had tallied 9,400. So when you look at, if you look at that traffic area there, 9,400 to 12,700 in 2018, that's a change of 35%. Okay. Now let's look at Egg Harbor Road, where the facility is currently located. They also had traffic data that was captured in 2018 as well as in 2009. So how much did their traffic increase over that period on Egg Harbor Road when the state measured it? Well, that was only 10% of an increase. It went from 5,900 in 2009 to 6,500 on Egg Harbor Road in 2018, only a 10% increase. So let's just take a look at Gordon Road and just say, okay, best case, it would only grow at roughly 10% at the 2018 number. So that would basically put them in a range of around 1,650 vehicles. If it's more like 4257, growth of 35%, that's an increase, of about 525 vehicles to only go to 2,025. So, net, a range of between 1,650 to 2,025, going to, some of the state statute that talks or that says, hey, you've got to, if you're going to build a road access that's on a parcel on, say you're on 2 roads, you got to go to the road that's got the least amount of traffic. And I think Cole might be able to cite the ordinance or the regulation that goes to that. So I think at the end of the day, you would still be at Gordon Road compared to, say, Egg Harbor Road, which was one of the questions that was talked about because the parcel goes all the way down to Egg Harbor Road, and it's still a factor of almost 3x more traffic on Gordon Road, on Egg Harbor Road than it is on Gordon Road. So that kind of puts the traffic, question in a little bit better context, and I offer my apologies to Cole subsequently that I didn't think about bringing that traffic count information to the Plan Commission meeting, because I think it would have.
That's his job.
Yeah. Got it. We're all in this together. So I think I'd like to make one last closing comment, and that is, my commitment to try to get a motion done is also relative to the fact that I wear another hat, and that's as a County Board Supervisor for District 14, which includes the eastern half of Sevastopol as well as Town of Sturgeon Bay north of the canal. And as I reported to you last month at the May meeting, the County Board used some of its ARPA funds to help fund child care services, I think to the tune of $347,000, and it's going to be done in conjunction with the United Way. And that vote was unanimous, so it was not only me that voted for it, but the other County Board Supervisor that represents the town of Sevastopol, Supervisor Vogel, also voted for that. So there's broad support. We know it's bad. We know it is badly needed. So that's another reason why I wearing my other hat, of which I'll talk about things going on a little bit later in the meeting. why I think it's important that we seriously consider supporting the rezone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Hugh. Comprehensive as usual. I'm going to give Cole and Alexis an opportunity to address a couple things that were mentioned by Hugh and fill in a few of the blanks, one of which was access off of Old Highway.
So I'll let these guys speak to that. Obviously, as we did our research and I had a conversation with Thad Ash, he pointed me to Chapter 6 of the Land Division Ordinance stating that the lesser traffic road by that ordinance should be used as access. So in this case, the property touches Egg Harbor Road and Gordon Road is, by all counts, the lesser traffic road. So for me, I kind of stopped at that point of pursuing an easement because easements are messy, and why wouldn't we just go off Gordon Road? When talking to Thad Ash, he knows of the concerns on the northbound traffic turning off Gordon Road. He's actively pursuing, grant funding and doing some in that area. I even talked to Paul, I think it's Paul Ratner. He's the project manager with the DOT for the resurface on Highway 42. He's aware that there is concern, but then he pointed me to Randy Ashman, who's now on vacation last week and this week, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him about some of those concerns.
To who, Randy, who?
Randy Ashman was who I was directed to.
Don't know that.
So he's allegedly the one who handles the DOT comments and concerns for Dorr and Kiwani.
Oh, okay. He'd be the Northeast Wisconsin representative. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments?
I did a scale out of that northeast corner. It's roughly 5 acres. If that box came back up of what actually is, dedicated to the facility itself. If you draw a line between the two inside corners there of where we're proposing the facility, and then, the trails and nature trails, I think we discussed last week, that can remain countryside and you can still achieve those trails without changing zoning.
So that would be an acceptable alternative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sticking on some of the nice data Hugh put together, I reviewed what was available for census data, and I kind of did my own equation on it, so I agree with what Hugh's doing to get the percentages. What I pulled from the 2019 census data is you've had a 3.6% increase since 2010, so if I align that with 1,500 active cars a day on Gordon Road, 3.6%, I'm still under 2,000 cars a day if I look at it that way.
Okay. Alexis, any further comments?
I guess if you guys have any questions from the packet that we provided you, just with what our current enrollment is, where our wait list is at. We currently have a max capacity of 83 children, and our current wait list sits at 109 children. And that includes expecting wait list of 15 children that will all be born prior to January 2023. And this new center will allow us to enroll 63 additional children, which includes 25 infant spots, which that's a huge need. Also, we really, when looking for properties, we were really persistent to try to find a space where we could serve both schools. I worked in school-age childcare for a very long time. That's where I started with childcare. And I did after-school care and camps, and I've seen a lot of parents with Sevastopol struggle to find that after-school care. I know this coming year that many of them are talking about where they're enrolling their children, if they open enroll to somewhere that provides that. So we really wanted to be able to accommodate both districts, and this is just an ideal spot. We really want to keep everything as is, as much as we can. We want it to be discreet. We don't want it to stand out to everybody driving by. Mostly just nature-based, kind of what we've been saying, and the trails and community-based.
Okay. Any of the board have any questions?
Can I just speak to timing quick, and then we'll move to the board? So as far as timing goes, just to put some perspective on roughly when the center would be turned over and become operational, there's probably 6 to 7 months of planning that needs to go into a center of this size with a construction start of next spring of '23. And it's roughly an 8 to 9 month project, which puts these guys in a brand new center before Christmas of '23, just to give some timing. So while that seems a long ways away, going through this process and then back through conditional use, there is quite a bit of urgency to get to that point.
I understand. Comments, questions from the board?
Linda raised her hand.
After-school care, so I see that you have the 2 to 4 and the 4 to 7. Well, it's been quite a while since I had any kids in school. But after-school programming and care, would you be able to offer that, or will you be at full capacity?
No, so the new center would include 20 school-age children. Mostly what we're looking to serve is to meet the gap of the 4K, 5K, first grade children that we're, the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club are able to offer unlicensed childcare for older age children and not have to go through the whole licensing. We're already licensed, so to add on another room for school age children is like nothing. Because we're a group childcare center, we can have 13 4-year-olds for one teacher, but once you go into the after school and camp, the ratio for 4-year-olds turns to 1 to 6. So it's not feasible for the other organizations to operate that. We're just trying to meet the gap for our 4K, 5, 6, 7.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, my suggestion, and you can't make your parents do it, but tell them to go west when they leave. Obviously, you can't make them, or use the old highway, but you can't make everybody go one way. There is Walker Road. I mean, there's ways to get out. Maybe have it in their family pamphlet or whatever. Say, hey, go this way, because we all know how terrible the intersection is.
Yeah, and our families are they want their children to be safe in their car as well. And they're all local, so none of them are going to be heading anywhere where there's a high volume of traffic that's unsafe. So I think that's definitely something that they'd be really respectful.
Yeah.
The effort that the county's undergoing to get that intersection approved, unless something's changed, I don't think they'll hear back until the end of the year. And if it does get approved, then there's a 3 or 4 year window before the state has to do it. So who knows, it could be on the same timeline that you are. It could be a grand opening of a road as well. The only thing I want to comment on is that, as Cole mentioned, this is going to come back to us as a conditional use request. And there are probably going to be some conditions that could get attached to this. So just the fact that they get through the zoning process doesn't mean that there is not another opportunity to understand specifics or to put guidelines in for what we'd like to see happen or not happen. Comments, any, Derek?
I was concerned about the traffic on Gordon Road, and you did reach out to the DOT, which is exactly what I wanted you to do. The squeaky wheel will get the grease, and that is going to help with granting in projects in the future. Still a little bit concerned on the traffic on Gordon Road. There was a few residents here that did state their traffic speeding down that road. And with it being not in the city, you're not gonna have police patrol like they are now on Egg Harbor Road. So the only thing I would like to suggest is, with approval of the board, is add radar speed limit signs along that corridor.
That's not our road though, right?
That would have to come.
It would be at our expense. It would be at our expense, and the county would have to let us do it.
I don't see an issue with that. I'm sure it would make a couple people on Gordon Road happy just to see that anyhow. And we could certainly investigate that. I don't think that would be an issue from us. So, Jeannie, anything?
The Plan Commission solved my concern, which was why change the zoning for the entire 25 acres. So you addressed that, and so I'm comfortable with that, and my other concern was traffic, and that seems to be in hand. I applaud your efforts.
All right, no other discussion, and we'll bounce the ball back to you.
Was anyone else going to comment?
If anyone does, I haven't seen anybody look like they want to. Anybody back there really want to comment on anything relative to this? Okay, feel free.
Do you want me to come to a microphone, or can you hear me?
If you can shout, your choice.
Glad to
Hi, I'm Alexis Peter, 11 North 17th Drive, Sturgeon Bay, not Sevastopol. You may also know me as a County Board Supervisor, District 10, a member of the Highway and Facilities, Vice Chair of Finance, Chair of the CATS Committee, and previous member of Public Safety and Technology Services. But most people know me as a mom and a vocal community member, passionate about creating a space and economy in Door County for young families to thrive. And for the last 4 years, I've been involved with the Child Development Center, and every day I'm amazed at these two women and the dozens of other teachers that fill those halls and teach our kids. Their leadership, work ethic, and passion for early childhood education is the only reason Sturgeon Bay and Sevastopol school districts have any licensed facility child development option at this point in time. Let me clarify that statement. And without our community and the dozens of passionate educators in that building, Sevastopol parents would face the biggest challenges and economic uncertainties of no child care centers. These women are before you as innovators, public servants, and economic development drivers. Approving the rezoning request is a show of support and approval for the families in Sevastopol that will one day build the newly renovated halls of the school. The board's vision and leadership for this entire community of families is appreciated and recognized. Thank you.
You did have something to say.
I usually do, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
I'm Sean Lenan. I grew up in the township here. My mom still lives in the township. Our kids go to Sevastopol, and I live right now on Tacoma Beach Road in Sturgeon Bay. But 1008 Tacoma Beach Road. I just wanted to mention that I was president of the Rotary Club for a year, 2 years ago. We had set the agenda there that the top priorities for at least our club, which I think is a broad, very diverse group of people from the community, is the daycare and housing. And, housing isn't getting solved that quickly, especially with the prices of housing going up. So without daycare as an alternative way to reduce cost or to make access even something, like we would have had another child, my wife and I, but the bottom line is even if we could have afforded it, it was a question of, is there even a spot available? And without knowing, we just decided it was kind of a gamble that we didn't want to roll. Now, we got 3 other kids, so like. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that one of the things I know the board considers is, are there alternatives for this daycare? Could they go elsewhere? Is there already a place that's zoned appropriately, yada, yada, yada? One of the things you saw on that map is how big the space is and how it's wooded, and there's orchard property. And one of the things that blows me away, I'm on the board for this group, and one of the things that really drew me to the group in general was that this concept that they wanted to get the kids outside. They wanted the kids to have this quintessential Door County experience when they were growing up. And I know one of the options that they had earlier considered was out in the industrial park. And yes, the space is there, but for me as a parent, having grown up here, it's all I can do to keep my kids off the screen time, off electronics, to get them outside, and the idea of having them their introductory years of their life in a warehouse, to me, it's better than nothing. And I think all of us would have taken a warehouse 5 years ago. But this is a great thing, and I really hope the board can see fit to make it work out. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? I think a suggestion for cherry tree planting would probably be good, a way for them to experience Door County. All right. No other conversation. We would leave it up to you to do the motion.
Okay, so based on Mr. Zettel's very comprehensive recap from the Plan Commission and the support that's here tonight, and like Mr. Zettel said, it's a large space. The design, it's well thought out, and I can see you put your heart into it. Yes, I like the kids to have plenty of space. So I would move that the town board forward a positive recommendation to the RPC for the zoning change, and that would be for, did we decide on 9 acres or 10 acres?
I think you said it's 5.
5 acres?
Is that what your calculation was, 5 something?
That's adequate?
It'd be about 5 acres for the building parking lot, that's
Okay.
square.
Okay,
As long as we can still do the nature trails and some of the things incorporated in the design that can stay countryside.
in the
Right.
countryside. So,
No ATV trails.
so that
Or
zoning,
hunting trails.
and you're okay with the mixed-use commercial category?
Well, I think that the
No, he's
recommendation
commercial
was
center.
Commercial
You
center,
changed it.
check
Commercial
swing.
center.
Yeah, the checks, I would recommend commercial centers since
Okay,
they
so that-
they
that
talk
was the
about
original.
commercials. Yeah,
Right.
that's in the land use, talk about
So-
commercial center, but they didn't talk about mixed use at all, so I think that'd make it easier for the land use folks.
So that rezone of approximately 5 acres from countryside to commercial center with the remaining acreage to stay at countryside.
Okay, have you got that, Amy?
Yep.
Or something close? All right. We have a motion by Linda, second by?
I'll second that.
Second by Jeannie. Any further discussion?
I think this will be a real asset
Yes.
to the town of Sevastopol. I would love to see it here. So, like you said, it's the proximity to Sevastopol School, the Sturgeon Bay School, the workforce in the city and surrounding area. So,
All right, no further discussion, time for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, second time? Motion carried. Thank you. Good luck.
Good,
We'll
guys.
see you again.
Jason,
All right, back to the boring part of our agenda.
You guys are welcome.
have that back.
Yeah. Kind of figured that was.
Yeah.
Don't everybody leave at once. Okay.
Good luck. Oh, good luck. Aye.
See ya.
Aye.
Okay, so we have one board member's mother who's staying. We're talking, but it's just not being heard.
Test.
All right. So let's move on. Financial reports, you have in your packet the account balances, as well as budget versus actual January through June. Some categories we've spent a small fortune. And then you have the transaction list by date. So we would also like to hear from the treasurer, who's going to share some tidbits with us.
We received our fire dues payment today for 2022, and the second half of taxes, your property taxes, are due July 31st. That's a Sunday, though. Just take note.
Do you have a guesstimate as to percentage-wise, what's out versus what's in?
I think we're at 72%,
72%, so they're very small, well, not very small, but 30% outstanding yet?
Correct.
Okay, well, thank you much. All right, we need a motion to approve the financial reports, put them on file.
I'll make a motion to put the financial reports for July 2022 on file.
All right, motion by Mark, second by
second?
Second by Jean. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right. Vouchers, bills, and claims. I think everybody has signed off on those?
Yep.
So we would need to have a motion to approve vouchers, bills, and claims from June 21st through July 18th of 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims from June 21st, 2022 through July 18th, 2022.
Motion by Jean, second by
that motion.
Second by Linda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Oral committee and commission reports. I don't have any minutes. Does anybody have anything that they would like to discuss for a couple minutes under oral committee reports?
The Door County Tourism Zone Commission, we have our executive board meeting on Thursday. I did attend the Destination Sturgeon Bay meeting on June 30th. Always pleased to give our Destination Sevastopol report. So, other than that, obviously they have their Cherries Jubilee going on right now, auction. And if you've been to Farmers Market on Saturday, you know that it's mostly on South 3rd Avenue now, rather than the parking lot by City Hall. There was a little resistance at first, but now everybody's happy to be out on the street.
Oh, they're happy with the
And
Market
free up
Square.
some parking.
All right. Anyone else?
I'll just make a comment about the Communications Technology Committee in particular, about the thing we've been attacking for quite some time now, which is broadband. We did have, on the June 29th meeting, we did have a presentation by AT&T that resulted in some follow-up questions. Our meeting takes place on Wednesday at 2 o'clock, coming up. I also attended the Countywide Broadband Summit along with most of the committee. I think the most important point was about having accurate maps. He was probably going to talk to this too. Ultimately, it was recommended through the county board, their committee, the broadband committee, that I believe it's that with the Wisconsin Public Service Commission WISER survey is something that's going to be very important to get our maps accurate. So we have the clear idea of who is truly unserved or underserved. So again, I'm going to just ask if people, I know you've done one survey, at least some of you, but if you would please do this WISER survey, we'll find out more about it coming up. There's going to be a big media blitz about it. So you'll see it in the Pulse, you'll hear it about it on the radio. We'll have things about it on our billboards. It's I think, going to be painless to take it, and it will absolutely help because there's a lot of dollars out there in funding, especially through the federal government that will be funded through the PSC will be the conduit, if you will, to pass the money on to the municipalities. So stay tuned, please, and we will do the best we can to get a ISP that will work for everyone.
Thank you. I won't do an official committee report, but I will do just an update relative to the construction going on next door to the town hall, which is after 3 years of chasing a goal, we have finally started construction on the rebuilding of the tennis courts and addition of pickleball, as well as resurfacing of a basketball court for the people in the town. That work is underway. We anticipate that the area will be paved in the month of July, and the only question we don't have a firm answer on is when it'll be painted and striped, so it'll be usable, but it'll be done before fall. So, and we got word today that we are going to receive a $100,000 donation from the Door County Pickleball Club, which was unexpected,
How
but a
much?
nice
$1,000. Oh, that's nice.
So,
I thought he said 100.
I thought he did too.
I was really, I said, oh, you only have to tell me.
oh, wait a minute, let me redo that. It was 1,000.
Oh, okay. Just so I get it right.
8,000.
in
If
the
I
minutes.
said-
Everybody here thought you said 100,000.
Well, if I did.
I swear I heard 100.
Yeah.
I did
So
too.
You know what?
Come on, Dan.
It is good to hear that you're all awake.
Agreed.
$1,000, which came out of their dues, which is great. So we appreciate that. In addition to those people who did donate money to the tune of hundreds and 500s, et cetera. So, okay, with that. All right, it's time to hear from Hugh Zettel again. It's on our agenda twice tonight with the County Board Report for District 14. Are you going to cover anything for District 15 or 16 or whatever that other guy is? Never mind.
It's all
Let's
county.
see.
It's all county related except for the committees I work on. So you should probably have an electronic copy of an update, and I'll just I'll cover a few important items. The first one is at the June 28th meeting, Julie Gilbert from Destination Door County, covered the changes with Destination Door County and the Door County Tourism Zone merger, how the funding works for municipalities. They did have a Q&A session, of which I asked about the increased short-term rental ordinances being created by the various county municipality and asking Destination Door County and the tourism zone to address resident quality of life concerns. And I also asked with groundwater being a concern, especially with people running over their pouts in short-term rentals, that they add groundwater as part of their sustainability messaging. It's not just surface waters, but the groundwater is also important. Even though our wells are private, the groundwater underneath there is really public, so they need to include that in their messaging on sustainability. On the resolutions, there were a number that were unanimously passed, and again, most of these were regarding grants that the county received, and because of the dollar amount, it had to be approved by the board. I won't go through them in detail. Also was a new appointment due to a work conflict with one of the RPC members. Ken Fisher is now back on the RPC. I guess he's been a long time a member of the RPC. Previous iterations of the county board, and we had an open spot, so Ken is now joining as of this past meeting in July. Also, there was a change in the administration manual to allow remote work within reasons, and it went through a couple iterations, but essentially the county employees, again, it's department specific, will be able to do work from home and remote work up to 3 days a week. Relative to the assigned committee activities that I participate in, as the first one as that Broadband committee chairman, we had a very successful summit, and I thank the town and Sevastopol representatives that were there. It was good to see a good group there, and I think all but one municipality was present at that meeting, so it was a very good turnout. And as Supervisor Vogel stated, getting accurate maps of who is served and who is not served is a big deal. And originally, we were under the track of doing our own survey that the county would administer on behalf of the municipalities countywide. But at the last committee meeting, after a discussion about the WISER survey, which is what the Public Service Commission is launching and has just launched within the last month, it's probably more important for us to get behind that and get that deployed throughout the county, because the Public Service Commission will use that as a way to determine how accurate broadband services within the state and, more importantly, within our county. And there's a range between $800 million to, I think, $1.1 to $1.2 billion just for broadband as part of the infrastructure legislation that was passed. So we're going to be, putting all our wood behind that one arrow to help get the WISER survey deployed, and you'll hear more about that in the next week or so. Also, we had a big discussion about make-ready costs. And we had a gentleman from Brown County discuss Make Ready. Make Ready is basically what does it cost to get a telephone line or a power line available to basically string, in our case, fiber, or to do it underground. And I think what's surprising, Brown County, especially the east and southeast part, has a good amount of karst topography. Since the escarpment kind of cruises through that part of the county as well. And they have done a study that over an 8 to 10 year life cycle, drilling is cheaper than aerial. And aerial costs, your insurance is cheaper when you're when you drill or bore as opposed to a telephone. Rent's cheaper, liability insurance, risk management insurance, it's all less expensive when you're underground as opposed to a per pole cost. So while the upfront cost may be higher, when you look at it over a life cycle, it's a lot less expensive. So I think that's something we're going to try to get more details relative to when does that break-even point occur, so that municipalities can use that in their deliberations with various vendors relative to potential approaches when they look at their engineering studies. RPC meeting, which is the other committee that I'm on relative to active activity, was there June 16th. As you know, the DHM Farms withdrew their rezoning request. Chairman Wolfel attended to talk about vegetative screening enforcement, and so there's going to be some more work that the RPC is going to do to relook at that. And there was also discussion about updating the fencing ordinance, as well as to look at revising and the camping on private property in the comprehensive zoning review, and putting more enforcement there. Post-COVID, RVs showing up on vacant property has become a widespread problem in the county. On the July 7th meeting, the CUP was approved for a Hawkers campground in the town of Liberty Grove off of ZZ. And the CUP was approved in the RPC meeting for Craig and Carrie Nellis for their home business. And the rezoning was approved for Adam Drossert, and it was aligned with the town board's recommendation. So they approved that. Again, these last three items will be in our packets for county board meeting next week for approval. So I expect that to be completed then. And then last but not least, because relative to the Adam Drossert rezoning, there was acknowledgement from the county administrator in his weekly minutes last week, congratulating and recognizing the town's effort to clean up the Muscat property and turning it around with resulting excellent professional office development. So it was kudos from Chairman or Administrator Paddock. So congratulations.
Thank you.
With that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
I got a question. So I attended that broadband thing online, and they stated that pamphlets that you guys handed out to the people in the audience, we're going to put it online for us to get access to, and it's still not on the website yet.
On the digital, I can't think of the name of it. The fiber net door.
I think it's
Or fiberconnectdoor.org. Yes, there were some challenges with domain names. Okay, and they got that resolved with the county, so they're in a mad dash now to get all the content uploaded. So it's, but I'll follow up with Jesse on that, just to make sure that, get a status on the content.
I was just wondering if that.
No, that's great feedback, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I have one question, and as you know, I wasn't able to make the broadband summit, and I worry that we have surveyed the people in the town too frequently, and we're not going to get a good response. Now, I did not see the survey, so I can't answer my own question about how much of the information they're asking is in our survey responses. So I'm wondering if it would be wise to try and literally hire somebody to put that data into the WPS or into the, not WPS.
Wiser survey.
Yes, if it wouldn't be a good idea to do that, I don't know.
I love how you use the word wiser.
Yeah.
But it's the wiser survey.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm just thinking, we've surveyed our townspeople twice now, but they might be all gung-ho to take another shot at it, but I'm guessing there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna say, I've done this before and I'm gonna skip it. And I don't wanna lose the data, so either the PSC would have to take our data and say, we can identify the underserved areas, or we transcribe it, worst case, into the Wiser survey. I don't know if that's practical, a good idea, or whatever, I just throw it out there.
Yeah, well, the tough part is that the response from our Sevastopol residents was only not even 25%. And so I think the hope is now that people are around this summer and that maybe more of a tendency to respond. You know, some people maybe didn't respond because of the timing. But the emphasis has to be on, this is critical because there's certain information, like addresses were not clear. And so there's a number of, and I'll let Hugh talk to it, but it's really important that it be done this way, because all the information then comes at the PSC, you know, accurately on the same basis. So.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, Dan, and your point's well taken. We don't want to throw away the survey data because I think it'll still be useful in our in the town submissions. I think it's important to do the Wiser survey because of the platform that it's using for doing the measurement of the benchmarking and tying that geolocation data that it will capture along with the address data. So I think that there's a data integrity element there that it would be tough to say, here, just take our data. So I think that's one element. I think another element that we're working on with the Wiser team is that their approach for getting feedback from residents who don't have access today and have to do it manually. There's some challenges relative to how Wiser does it, and so we're working to try to get that resolved so that we can get that feedback. And I think, quite honestly, that's what I'm most concerned about, that we're going to have to do the most legwork, engaging the school district, engaging ways, with separate mailers and those sorts of things to try to get to those folks that are going to probably have to call in.
I was going to say, Hugh, there's going to be a phone number, according to Jess. There's going to be a phone number that people can call, and they will be assisted.
So I think, and for those folks that are Illinois residents, we have to tell them if they did a survey, it's just kind of like voting in Chicago. They can vote early and vote often, and they'll be used to that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I was just looking at the survey that we did compared to the survey that we got at the session, and this survey is a little more.
Okay.
But
that survey is not going to be used.
Wiser.
This is not the Wiser survey. This was the one that Door County
County
team,
of Door,
they worked on. But after all the discussion about the Wiser and that survey that they had worked on, the decision was made that they're going to go with the Wiser survey.
Yeah, we're leverage the PSC survey. So that draft is.
That draft is not going to be used.
It won't be used.
Oh, good, I'm glad I didn't read
An
it.
existing survey.
You need to go on and look at the Wiser survey. On the PS.
Does the county of Door have Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat,
Yes.
all the platforms?
Yes, we're gonna engage with that. We're gonna engage Destination Door County has offered their marketing, efforts, as well as Michelle Lowry, who runs Economic Development Corporation. She's already got business groups that are going to participate, and we have school board representatives that are on the committee that are engaging the school districts, because in another couple of weeks, people are going to be doing forms and fees, coming up in August, and that'll be a perfect time that we can latch on to those, because if there's a constituent group, we have to make sure that we get aftermarket, right? It's families, right? Especially the ones that are in the.
Everybody's got one of these.
Everyone's got one
So
of those.
even if you don't have Wi-Fi at your house, like
There's
we
a
don't.
QR, there'll be a QR.
You still
code.
can, you're going to town to get groceries, an email pops up when you get cell service.
Yep.
So I think the Communications and Technology Board for Sevastopol should get a Facebook page for the town. I think something we should really look into. Facebook, Twitter, I don't know all the platforms, but Facebook I know is popular. Derek, you guys might know a little more, but I really think we should start looking into that, because then we can reach more people. Like I say, almost everybody's got a smartphone now. And you get out, get into Sturgeon Bay, get somewhere where there's cell service, and everything starts popping up.
Great, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Any other comments from anyone? Thanks, you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. So we'll go back here and we just have Door County inspections. You have a copy of that in your packet. And off to correspondence. You have a copy of the notice for someone who's going to do a little riprap. As Amy mentioned earlier, our road aids are in there. Copy of the document that Hugh referenced from Ken Pavich, which talks about the Muscat property and the fact that he gave us a nod after having begged on bended knee to get some money from him. And we have the City of Sturgeon Bay's Fire Department report. And that's everything in correspondence. Announcements, we have a communications technology meeting on Wednesday, July 20th. That'd be tomorrow.
No.
Excuse
No,
me,
that would be
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
That'd be Wednesday, that's why I said Wednesday. Park and Rec meeting on Wednesday, very popular day, July 20th at 6 p.m. The Board of Review is Tuesday, July 26th at 1 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question? Did we get an assessment roll, Amy?
Oh, he did not leave one here. He had it with him. He did not leave one here.
So he had a real printed assessment roll?
Yes, he did.
At Open Book?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hopefully he'll bring that back with him.
Board of Review is Tuesday, July 26th at 1 p.m. Door County Fair, they're going to be there from August 10th through the 14th. The Valmy Threshery will be in business from August 19th through the 21st. And the next Board of Supervisors meeting is on August 15th, contrary to the date on the agenda, if you have it. So, a little typo.
Oh, yeah, the third.
Yes. So, agenda for next month, we will bring back the first responders. We'll try and get some further clarification on all of the different pieces of that. And anything else that comes up, let me know. And I'm gonna guess we don't have a request for a rezone yet for next month. It'll be
Not yet.
first time. Yeah, I know. All right. So we're at the favorite part of the meeting for Derek.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Motion by
Second.
Derek, second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.